Hello, my lovely listeners. I'm Dr. Mary Barson.
And I'm Dr. Lucy Burns. Welcome to this episode of Real Health and Weight Loss. Good morning, gorgeous listeners. I hope you're having a fabulous day, and it is going to be made even better because you're listening to this podcast and I have a beautiful guest with me. I would like to introduce you to Dr. Lizzie Elliott. She's a GP from Tassie who has a huge interest in low-carb nutrition, hence the reason she's on the podcast, but also, interestingly, is a physiology genius because she has a side gig, if you like, in hyperbaric and dive medicine. So, you know, much like Dr. Mary has an interest in biochemistry, Lizzie knows her physiology inside and out. So, Lizzie, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks so much, Dr. Lucy.
I know, it's so good. I love. I love chatting low carb stuff. I love chatting with female doctors. And I just love the fact that you've got this little side interest, which, well, I probably shouldn't say little side interest, probably a major part of your clinical medicine. But, you know, it just adds another dimension to it all, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I think diversification of what you do in your workplace just keeps you interested and invested well into the future. So I'm looking forward to where the future takes me in regards to all of my practices, but particularly nutrition and lifestyle medicine.
I love that. And you know what, listeners, in a time where GPs are leaving and doctors in general are burnt out and leaving healthcare, this has been the overarching theme of everybody I've spoken to is that, you know, low-carb nutritional medicine brings back the joy of medical practice.
Absolutely. And I guess that's one of the key things I was looking for with my medical practice is adding to my toolbox. And you get to the point where there's so many different avenues of approach in regards to pharmacotherapy and also knowing your referral pathways, but also building on your own toolbox. So having strategies and techniques that you can employ there and then with the patient. And so that's how I got further into the nutrition realm and in particular the lifestyle medicine realm now, because lifestyle medicine covers not only nutrition, but the physical activity, sleep, stress, community connectedness, and decreasing addictions to substances.
Ah, absolutely. And that is, I mean, it's totally the key. I think, you know, people can get, I guess, just focused on low carb being the only thing that you need to do or the only tool that you have, when in fact we already know, you know, there's so much more to it. It's low carb's one big part of it, but it's not the whole puzzle.
Absolutely. Yeah, nutrition is significant, but you put into place all the other players and you're going to have such a better response to nutrition or such a better response with your quality of life in general.
Indeed. So, Lizzie, how did you get into this area? Like, you know, you would have done training, you know, our training is particularly now in this fast-paced world, it's quick medicine, solve the problem, often write a script, see you later. How did you, you know, move away from that model?
I've always loved food, much like everyone else in the low-carb realm. And I used to do lots of expedition medicine as well. And so during your day, your attention and your focus would be very much around your next meal. So because it's cold and the work can be quite tedious and having a meal to nourish yourself, plus you come together as community as well, so sitting down and chatting with people. It was on one of these expeditions I met my husband. I remember having a conversation with him and he invited me out for a date when I returned to mainland Australia, to Tasmania. And he said, so what are you into? What sort of food do you like? And I said, I love noodles. I'm a pastafarian. And his comment was, that sounds like it's very carby. And this is the first I'd heard about people being aware or conflicted by food, and carby isn't a word, but exploring it further with him, he said, look, I focus more on having less carbs in my diet and I feel a lot better for it. So that was 8 years ago. And so over the next 7 years, after we got married, sort of delved further and further into macronutrients, and low carb came up, so doing a basic Google search. So started to attend the conferences, Low Carb Down Under conferences, applied to the Nutrition Network, which is run through South Africa for online training, just to get more of an idea. Did some local online courses as well in nutrition, which weren't so complimentary for low carb. So starting to become more analytical in regards to cutting through the chafe, in regards to nutrition studies and how to interpret them, and putting into place my own practices and just determining what works from a low carb sphere, but also starting to change my tact and language from diet to nutrition. So diet is just a short-term thing, but nutrition is a long-term thing. And also focusing on whole, fresh, minimally processed foods. So it's not just the low-carb concept, it's the minimally processed food concept in general.
Like the real food. We have that.
Absolutely, real food.
Yeah. Instead of LCHF, which is the common vernacular, low carb, which can be low carb high fat or low carb healthy fat, we have low LCRF, low carb real food.
So I set up a business that I haven't floated, but I've called it Real Food Medicine.
Wonderful. Good. I love it. I love it.
It's definitely a way forward in regards to people managing health issues and health concerns, or just looking for a better quality of life.
Oh, totally. And in fact, we have aprons that we send to our members and it is Real Food is Medicine is written on it because, it's so interesting. And there are people, there's a couple of doctors, and I've spoken about this on a few of the other podcasts. There's a guy who's written a book that is food is not medicine. It's like, oh, mate. And absolutely slams anybody who says that and, puts them. So us, you and me, who believe that real food is medicine, puts us into the wellness wankery area of the Gwyneth Paltrows.
Woo.
Yeah. And it's not woo. That's the thing. It is not. There's evidence, there's science. And the overwhelming evidence around ultra-processed foods it's irrefutable.
Oh, absolutely. It's damning. Yep. I guess the issue is that we know it's toxic, and similar to cigarettes and alcohol, it's actually the amount and the fact that it's not instantaneously toxic, but we know over a period of time, if you pursue these sorts of habits, they are going to have a deleterious effect on your health. That is irrefutable, as you said.
Yeah. And I think the tricky thing is in this day and age where there's lots of conflicting messaging, and part of that is the fact that there is no one size fits all. And I think people get stuck in that this is my way and you do it my way or see you later, which is unhelpful. But it's really the idea that ultra-processed food is, for a lot of people, it's very hard to just have a little bit of it. And it's tempting. And I think this is where, it's tempting to say that to lose weight, you have to have less calories in than you expend. It sounds logical. You go, yeah, all right, that sounds reasonable. Just like it sounds reasonable to say, well, there's no good food, no bad food, don't demonize food. You can have a little bit of everything.
Yeah. So my favourite thing at the moment is dispelling the calories in, calories out model and advising people how calories are calculated, which is through a calorimeter. And it's essentially a box that you put the food into, you set it on fire, and then you measure the change in temperature. And that change in temperature gives you an idea of the caloric content. So we know that carbohydrates and protein are 4 calories per kilojoule and fat's 9. So theoretically...
4 calories per gram, yeah?
Per gram, sorry.
Yes. No, that's all right. Yeah.
And fat's 9, so significantly more. So it takes you more than twice as long to burn fat as a fuel. But it's completely discounting all the enzymatic and hormonal processes that happen in the body. And we are not a machine, and that's not how it happens.
No. I know. It's frustrating, isn't it? Because people still, again, it's tempting. It sounds reasonable. But, yeah, as you said, we're not a box. We're not setting our food on fire. We don't have smoke coming out our ears every time we eat. There is so much more to it, with all of those hormonal processes, satiety and nutritional, like calories don't take into account any nutrition, any vitamins.
And how they all interact as well. So talking to my patients about taking supplements. So, iron's a key component. Iron deficiency is so prevalent nowadays, and getting those iron stores of studies and discussing them with patients and saying this is the best approach. And it used to be, how much meat are you eating, and that's conflicting in itself. But also, being confident saying double the amount of red meat that you're consuming, and this is how you can consume it. Because it's so easy to say, just go and get your iron supplement. But we do know that there's more to it. So there's a symbiotic relationship between iron and vitamin C or an acidic environment. So now we've got drug companies that have those combinations, and, it goes on and on, because we were never designed to consume these micronutrients or these vitamins in isolation. There's a symbiosis that we cannot appreciate or understand, or we don't have the processes by which to break them down to say, in order to best absorb this micronutrient, you need to have this with it, and all the rest of it. It's so complex.
Absolutely. And I don't know if you've ever seen a film called Vitamania. It's a documentary. It's excellent. But it really talks about how we make vitamins that come in pills, because I'd never thought of it. I'd never occurred to me, how do we actually get the vitamin A, in my brain I'm going, do you get it out of a carrot and stick it in a pill? Like, how do we actually get it? And, no, it's made in a factory, petrochemicals. So it's like, wow, okay, I had no idea. No idea at all. And I kind of figure I'm reasonably educated. So, heaven help the person who's not had any nutritional education or any food education. They're really relying on labels, particularly the front of the packet, the box, the jar.
Absolutely. There's a saying that Australia has the most expensive urine because of the deprivation and the excretion of all the vitamins and minerals that we consume.
Yeah.
External to our nutrition.
Yes. It's so interesting. So, I think about this iron issue, and as my listeners and you will know, I have 2 daughters, and unfortunately, they were exposed to some vegan propaganda when they were in primary school, and I didn't know. This was back when I was still just doing standard medicine, not knowing anything about nutrition, still prescribing statins to anyone who had a cholesterol over 5, all of those things. And so they wanted to do vegetarian eating, and I thought, fair enough, I'll support them. And I thought that I was being a good mum by helping them, so I made, there was some whole foods and stuff in there. But they're now 10 years on. They've been vegetarian, and one of them they both have had iron deficiency at times. In fact, the little one had it when she was about 9, and I only realised because she had pica. So for our listeners, pica is when you start eating unusual things, and hers was ice, which is a common sequelae, I guess, of iron deficiency. And so there she was. We were out at horse events. Here she is, 9. It's the middle of winter, and she's scaraging around the back of the float to look for the ice for the horses' ice boot things that they use after big workouts, scoffing the ice. Oh, my God. But my other daughter, recently iron deficient, has been supplementing, and it's not working. And I would love her just to start eating red meat again. But unfortunately, I have probably, I've left it too long. She's now an adult. She can do what she wants anyway. But it's like, wow. So now she's had to have medical intervention and have an iron infusion because her diet is deplete.
So I've got an amazing patient at the moment, and she spent decades with a plant-based nutrition. And it wasn't until we got together and started sorting through her minimal health concerns relative to her age, really. Part of that was osteoporosis requiring an injection, a 6-monthly injection Prolia, and also iron deficiency. And I said, look, the most effective way of correcting for this is to actually start to eat meat, particularly red meat. So, if it works with you, and I know this might be conflicting to what you've practiced or what your ideals might be, but, you can take the tablets, but at the end of the day, this is the best way to correct your iron deficiency. And to her credit, she said, okay, I'm willing to give this a go, and started focusing on traditionally raised, locally reared, humanely slaughtered, etc. So really put time and energy and was very conscientious in regards to how she accessed her animal products. corrected her iron deficiency. Her bone mineral density has increased substantially. So I think the test for her femur went up 26%.
Oh, amazing.
In that 2-year period. And she just feels so much better in herself. And she reflected and said, these symptoms I was having with my gut, which I would have called IBS, which we hadn't discussed prior to this change in nutrition. She said all those symptoms are better. So that had all these other knock-on effects. Got her off of statins because she was having brain fog with that, so mental clarity had improved. Just a range of significant improvements in the quality of life.
Yeah, it's so interesting to me, the whole IBS thing, and how a lot of it, I mean, it's over fermentation or fermentation of too many fermentable products in the colon that gives people gas and cramps and pain. And
it's disabling.
Yeah. I always find it hilarious, inverted commas hilarious, when people say, cutting out a whole macronutrient is dangerous, because unless you're 100% carnivore, you're not cutting out a whole macronutrient. You're still having carbohydrates.
Non-processed carbohydrates.
Yep. Non-processed, real food. Reducing the amount of carbohydrates that you're having is helpful, as we know.
Absolutely. Boosting the protein, and people underdo their protein significantly.
Yep. Yes, absolutely. Oh, I love it. I love it. So she sounds like that your patient's whole quality of life has improved by changing her diet, again, air quotes, but her nutrition.
Yeah, and also her concept of what was a healthy nutrition and what was beneficial for her. And, I've got a range of other case studies with my patients. There was one fellow who came to see me who was seeking, an alternative general practitioner. Not that I would call myself an alternative general practitioner, but we ended up having a 45-minute consult, and at the end of that, he took on board the information in regards to low carb and was able to adapt that to his lifestyle. He turned up 2 weeks later and said these years of IBS that I'd seen specialists about and numerous GPs, and now I have no symptoms. And within 2 weeks, his years of symptomatology resolved.
Yeah. Oh, I get it. I used to have IBS. I just thought, IBS, I can't do anything about it. Interestingly, lots of people go on a low FODMAPs diet, which can be helpful. But if you actually just reduce your entire carbohydrates, then you can tolerate some of the things that are considered to be high FODMAPs, which I find amazing.
Yeah, and you don't have to worry about specifics, because I've sat down with the dietitian and gone through a FODMAP diet, and it's so complex. And that art of decreasing each component, the F, the O, the D, etc., every 2 weeks, and then if there's no change, you can reintroduce it, but then the next 2 weeks. And so you're looking at months of trying to establish yourself on this quite specific nutrition profile. But, I'm really up for the keep it simple, stupid measures. K.I.S.S principle works really well for me. And if you could just do a blanket rule to say, just lower your carbs. What you're consuming at the moment, you're in the several hundreds. So if we were to calculate what your standard meal base is for every day, so doing a breakfast, lunch, dinner history, any snacks, other drinks in between, how can we reduce your carb load? And you can significantly. So you can bring it down from the 400s down to the lower 2s or even the 100s. And the improvement in symptoms that people can have. And you can do that instantaneously if you just swap out your toast for eggs in the morning. Instead of having your salad sandwich, just have the salad with good quality protein and some olive oil on top for lunch. Dinner time, just your meat and veg, avoiding your potatoes and pasta and rice and all the rest of it. And just cutting the sugar from your drinks. So trying to adopt having your hot drinks without sugar. It can just have profound effects within such a short period of time. And most of the time these things are achievable, but also taking that staggered approach just to say, look, we're not aiming for perfection by the end of this week. We're just looking for improvements, and you checking in, so doing a body scan, just take some time every day just to check in, see how you're feeling. And if you wanted some hard data, do a food diary. So write down information, get that hard data so you can reflect on how this is impacting on your life, and that will give you positive guide to continue on with it, to persist.
I love that food diary tip, because what it is, it's different to a diet diary where you had to track your food because, you had a certain calorie limit or a number of points. What you're doing is saying, do a diary, but you correlate it with how you feel.
It's great for self-reflection, because the amount of times that we go, okay, I'm going to adapt to this behaviour, and you get to the end of the week and you try and reflect back and you're like, well, I feel better, but I'm not quite sure how I feel better, and I don't know where in time that point happened. Or if you start feeling bad again, why is that? Is it because you had a chocolate with your coffee, or
yeah, absolutely.
did you have a poor night's sleep?
Yeah, totally. And this is the thing I think that we have checked out. Like, we don't check in with our body very often anymore. It's like we forget about it.
Don't have time.
Yeah. And so, wonderful. Lizzie, you are fascinating. Like, there's a whole lot more we could be talking about. You just popped in there that little line that got my eyes thing on expedition medicine. I'm going, oh my God. So there is lots and lots of experiences that you have. And I think that, your patients are blessed to have you as their doctor. And Tasmania is blessed to have you as one of the presenters at Low Carb Hobart, which is on the 27th of May. So for those of you in Tassie, or feel like making a little trip down to Tassie for the weekend, come and hear Lizzie speak, because she's got fascinating topic, fascinating insights, and I think it's going to be a ripper.
Oh, thanks so much, Lucy. And to be honest, I'm blessed to have my amazing, motivated patients. And just love living in Tassie. So please do pop by, have a chat. It'd be lovely to meet you. And I'll see you soon, Lucy.
Indeed. So, listeners, if you want to buy tickets to Low Carb Hobart, the links will be in the show notes, of course. And, we look forward to seeing you all there. Lizzie, thanks so much again, and have a wonderful, wonderful day.
You too, Lucy. Thanks so much. Bye.
Gorgeous ones, this is the last in our Friday series with the Low Carb Roadshow. The inaugural year of the Low Carb Roadshow, bringing the conference to the people, has been a wonderful success, with all the shows selling out. Although at the time of this recording, there are still a few tickets left for Cairns. It has been the most wonderful and amazing experience for Dr. Mary and myself, and we will definitely be doing it again next year. So, my lovely listeners, that ends this episode of Real Health and Weight Loss. I'm Dr. Lucy Burns.
And I'm Dr. Mary Barson. We're from Real Life Medicine. To contact us, please visit rlmedicine.com.
And until next time, thanks for listening. The information shared on the Real Health and Weight Loss podcast, including show notes and links, provides general information only. It is not a substitute, nor is it intended to provide individualised medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment, nor can it be construed as such. Please consult your doctor for any medical concerns.